So this is the 8 essential tennis stats that you've probably been overlooking on Betfair. Okay. Now, if you're overwhelmed by tennis stats on Betfair, you're not alone. What I want to do with this video is I want to cut through some of the noise and just give you 8 stats that I think you absolutely need to know. I'm also going to tell you why I think these stats matter and how you can leverage them to use on Betfair. Now, before we do that, I need to stop. There is a warning. I'll probably get slated for this video for using my own website stats. Now, this isn't a sales pitch from me at all. You can get these freely on websites like Tennis Abstract, the WTA website, the ATP. For a small fee, you can get them on Tennis Insight as well. I'll also leave a link below to where I got some of these from that I didn't use my website for. And also, this isn't me sharing a strategy either, or sharing strategies. This is a different style of video. I want to share some stats that I think are important for people and have a discussion around that for building your own strategy. I can't make everybody happy. I'm not a jar of Biscoff spread. Now, if there's some stats that you like that I haven't covered, then let me know in the comments below. This list isn't exhaustive. I could probably give you a list that would be so long, it'd take forever. I've just tried to pick out 8 of the best ones for you that are going to make the biggest difference, the quickest for you as well. So the first one I'm going to talk about is the projected hold. Okay. Now, projected hold is just basically the probability that a player will hold serve. Now, holding serve is huge in tennis. If you hold your serve, you put huge pressure on the opponent, especially if you also then are able to break that person. So if you have a high break points percentage, you're going to do very, very well. You're going to be able to hold your serve, but also put pressure on the opponent that you're going to be able to break them. And there's a lot of mindset and a lot of mental games that go on in tennis. I have played myself a fair bit. Martin plays a lot. And I know when I've come up against people that have a really, really strong serve, I just know that they're going to really, really push me and I've got to be on it. And that's just at my terrible level. So the higher that this figure is, the better. Okay, now you can use it to help you back that player when on serve. And it's really, really good for your match reading as well. Because if two players have a close projected hold, it probably tells you that there's a high percentage chance of a tiebreak happening. That this is going to be close. You know, they're both going to hold their own serve. Now, if there isn't a high projected hold, like in this example, which I've pulled from the BTC stats today, you're going to see that, you know, the player here, Bonzi, has 88% projected hold, while the player Mayo that they're playing has 30. It's a huge difference. So it looks to me like this player 1, which is Bonzi, is going to really hold their serve. Might potentially even win the match. Now, that isn't a prediction from me. That is just me sharing my advice and sharing some stats on this. Okay. Second one we're going to go into is the 1 set 1, loss set 2. Now, I think this is an amazing stat to look at because this is really, really good for those people that lay the first set winner. A lot of people just use that strategy as a blanket strategy, which is really, really good and it works. But what I like to do, and what I would prefer people do is actually use stats to back that up and find their selections. So basically this stat, 1 set 1, loss set 2. Wow, you can see that player 1, this is what I've pulled from the stats, 1 set 1, 50% of the time, and then lost set 2. 50% of the time. That's the sequence that they went on. So they won the first set, and then when they did win the first set, they lost the second one 50% of the time. An amazing stat that can really, really help you identify what could happen in a match, could tell you what to look for. A lot of times when it comes to match reading, people really, really do struggle of what to look for, but the stats provide you with information on what to look for. They're not perfect, and it doesn't just mean that because it happened historically, it's going to happen again. But what it does is it helps you narrow that focus so that you can actually focus on things. And if you struggle to read matches, I find stats are an amazing thing to help you because you can actually look at them and it gives you something to be looking for. Like in this example, if they win the first set, straight away you've got a stat that says, well, 50% of the time they lose the second set. So that you already know what you're looking for. And then the next stat I like to look at is that you win the first set, but then lose the next game. 67% of the time this happens. So if you are a first set winner lay, if that's the trade that you're going to do, then this is a great stat to be looking at and to have in your arsenal and to understand. It's just a great stat that really helps you narrow down what to look for. Okay, now the next one is breakpoint saved. Okay, now this is just really, really simple. How often a player manages to win a game when their opponent has a chance to break. So this is saving, holding your own serve and saving breakpoints. Very straightforward. Very, very, very straightforward one. This is really important because this tells you whether a player, for me, is good under pressure or not. So if they have a high breakpoint saved, then they are more likely that they are very good under pressure. So if you are scalping them or you want to back them to win the first set or the second set or whatever it is, you know that if there's pressure coming, they're going to be able to handle that. And they're going to be able to handle it repeatedly, which is something that I want to see. Okay, so then the next one is the opposite of that, and it's breakpoints converted. I've put these arrows here so you can see. So if we go back to this one, you can see breakpoint saved. This is player one. It's the same example that I've been using throughout these videos for the video, sorry. So you can see 81% is a high breakpoint saved. So it gives you confidence in that player. And then you've got breakpoints converted, and this is how often a player manages to break their opponent's serve. Now, if a player is very good at this, this tells you that they are good at capitalizing on their opponent's weaknesses and mistakes that they're making. This again is huge in tennis. I have watched a lot of tennis over the years, and one of the things that frustrates me sometimes is that a player doesn't go through the gears enough. And what I mean by that is that when they've got that player on the ropes, they don't have that killer instinct. Now, with a high breakpoint converted stat, that tells you that, wow, this player is ruthless. If they're like a shark, if they smell blood in the water, they're going to take that. So this is a really, really interesting stat. Another one that I've pulled from Tennis Abstract is just the first serve and the second serve won percentage. Now, one of the reasons why I really like looking at this is a lot of the times players will always have a higher first serve win percentage. Now, as tennis is played, you get an opportunity to serve. You get your first serve, and then you have your second serve. So if you miss your first one, you get another one to get the ball in play. So it just stands to reason that players are normally more aggressive on their first serve. Okay, so that's really important to know. And if they win a lot of their first serve points, it also tells you that they're very accurate with their first serve. They're very good at it. Some players like John Isner, for example, when their first serve is in, and if that is rocking, they are very, very difficult to play against. Very difficult to play against. So this can earn a player a lot of points, so it's worth noting. Now then, and it also goes to reason that a lot of the players that win their first serve, they have a high first serve won percentage, they also win a lot of matches, okay? Now, the second serve one, this is interesting for me because a lot of the times players are way more conservative with their second serve, because if they miss it, it's a double fault. The opponent gets the point. So it's usually slower. So it's easier for their opponent to attack that second serve, sorry. So it's really, really important to look at that stat, because if a player has a low second serve one, there's an opportunity there for you to look at it. And it's also good to look at the reverse of that, play devil's advocate. If they've got a high second serve won percentage, then this is going to tell you that actually this is a pretty strong player on first serve and second serve. If you put that with projected hold as well as breakpoints saved and breakpoints converted, you start to stack some of these stats on top of each other. You're going to be building a really, really good picture of this player and a way to trade this match. Now, one of the stats that I really like to look to as well, and this is the same match, this is the Bonsai Mayo match, is the broke first and broken first percentage. Okay, now this is player one, so this is Bonzi. So you can see they break first a high percentage of the time. So it stands to reason they're pretty ruthless. When they get the opportunity, they go for this. Okay? And they're not broken first very often. It's just a really, really good stat to just back up what I'm thinking a lot of the times. And I think that you should probably look at this one. It's a really, really good stat. It's almost like, well, it's the exact same stat for me in reverse with the football, where I like to look at who scored first and who conceded first. This is that version of it. I really, really like to look at this stat. I think it's really, really good, and it can tell you a lot about a player. It can tell you how strong mentally they are as well, which is really, really important in tennis. Now, the next one is the head-to-head. Okay, so no point doing all of this work if you then get to the trade or whatever you're going to do, whether you're going to trade, you're going to bet it, and then you find out that the player you thought was going to do well, because of all the stats, they just cannot perform against this opponent because for whatever reason, whether their game doesn't match up to this opponent, or this opponent just has the mental edge. So it's really, really important that you look at the head-to-head. Okay? Now you can find that on loads of different websites. Like I say, I will leave the link below that I use this one to find, as well as Tennis Abstract. You can also find it on the Betfair Exchange website. When you're actually looking at the match, you can click head-to-head and it's there. Now, something I'm going to note for you to look at when it comes to head-to-head is make sure that you look at the surfaces that they played on, okay? Because some people and some tennis players really, really prefer certain tennis venues, certain surfaces. Nadal, for example, is a ridiculously good clay court player. So if you're looking right now, I'm looking at the Wimbledon games. If you're looking at that match and you're pricing that up and you're looking for an angle, or you're trying to apply your strategy to it, then you need to know what surface it's on and whether those head-to-heads were on that surface, because you can discount some of them. Clay and tennis are so different. People play so differently on either surface. Some people love grass. Some people hate it. So if a player has beaten somebody 4 out of 5 times, but all of those were on clay, then it's going to be a different match. So it's just something to look out for and look at. So all of this information is really, really good to know when you're looking at trading tennis, no matter what strategy that you are going for. Now, remember, it's not just about knowing these stats. It's about using them strategically to back up your trading decisions. So what I want to ask you now is, which one are you going to be using? Are there any in there that I haven't spoken about that you like? Like I said at the start of this video, this isn't an exhaustive. I've not had much sleep, guys. This isn't a massive list. I'm going to go with that massive list. Okay. Did you like this? What I've tried to do with this video is just do something a little bit different. I've tried to just sort of talk about some stats and highlight some stats to look for and why you might want to look at them. I can go deeper into these videos. I can start doing some matchup videos and just sort of going through some stats. I also want to know in the comments below. Normally I ask for a word for you to comment on, but today I'm going to actually ask a question instead. What I want to know from you guys is, when it comes to looking at stats and sort of how you approach them, how you reason with them, and how you play around with them, what do you struggle with? Like, what do you struggle with when it comes to stats? Let me know in the comments below, and then I'll be back next week with another video.